Hello everybody and welcome to Promise Gaming and more Hearts of Iron 4 Man the Guns, version 1.7.1. We're going to do something we've never done before in Hearts of Iron 4, an Iron Man challenge run, specifically as Poland. Poland being the most challenging, historically relevant country that I could think of. Now obviously in the real world, Poland was trapped between the Germans and the Soviets and kind of got squashed. The goal of this campaign is to turn the tables and squash the Germans and the Soviets instead. Now, the easiest way to do that, as Poland, is usually to join one of the two sides, usually the communists, in order to squash one of them, then swap sides, join the Allies, and take out the other. In our case, we're going to make it even more challenging by trying to stay non-aligned and form our own faction instead. Now, the only way I can think to make this work, because the Allies are not helpful, I am going to have to placate one of the two sides. Specifically, I'm thinking I will placate the Germans. When they demand Danzig, we're just going to have to give them Danzig. Then the Germans should more or less leave us alone, so we can focus all of our attention on fighting the Soviet Union. If we attack them around the same time as they are doing the Great Purge, we might actually have a chance at beating them down, take all of that Russian infrastructure and factory production, then turn it against the Germans and conquer most of Europe as a result. It's going to be very difficult, and the stars kind of have to align, but if we can pull it off, it's going to be quite glorious. We will be playing on Iron Man, and historical AI focuses, so we have at least some sense of what the AI is going to do. Also, if we play on non-historical and let Germans go, let's say, down the monarchy route, well, that kind of takes away half the challenge. So yeah, let's stick on historical AI focuses. Go for a Iron Man Poland game, yep, like so, and let's see how well we fare. Okay, now as I said, our primary goal is going to be to fight the Soviets, but at least to start, let's go ahead and put all of our armies together. I'm going to split you guys up into two separate groups. Under one field marshal, one of you guys can go and sit against the border of the Germans, the other against the border of the Soviets. I don't really care too much. All right, now, the only way that we are going to have a chance at fighting the Soviets is to greatly increase our military production. We're not going to have a lot of manpower, but we have even less guns right now. If I want to fight the Soviets, I need to field a large army, and I need a lot of equipment to do it. Best way that we can do that, then, is to get a lot of military factories, and the cool thing about Poland is there actually are a lot of stacking bonuses you can get to greatly reduce the time it takes to build a new military factory. To start off, at least until we can get some of those bonuses up and running, we will be building up a couple of civilian factories. A couple civilian factories just to greatly increase my production speed, but then we will switch over to military. So if you look here under national focus, so there's strengthening the Polish state, and that's the first one we're going to pick up for the extra political power. After that, we can go down to defensive focus, which gives a 20% military factory construction speed. You couple that with, let's say, a political advisor for the war industrialist for another 10%. Then you get the technology for the construction speed for another 10%. We'll actually go ahead and pick up our standard technology openings right now. Then you go for, let's say, a construction technology research bonus to get construction 2 a year early, so you have another 10% bonus. Then you switch away from civilian economy to a partial mobilization for another, and within about a year and a half, you have a 60% reduction in military factory construction speed. It can be pretty powerful, and that is the only way that I'm going to have a chance at actually getting all the military production that I need. We're not going to worry about interwar fighters right now. I am instead going to be producing some artillery. At least in the beginning of the game, we are not going to have anywhere close to the production that we need to field any tanks or any aircraft. So we're going to have to focus on the tried and true method of using really, really big guns to blow everybody apart, and then we'll take it from there. Once I have all the Soviets' factories under my control, well then sure, then we'll switch over to tanks and anti-tanks, and then we'll take out the Germans the fun way. But for now, it's just going to be throwing bodies against bodies and hoping that we're the better bodies. Because Poland is strong. That might be the name of the series, I don't know. Poland strong? I like Poland strong. We might do that. My wife laughed, which means that's a definite. Okay, we're going to strengthen the Poland state first. That's going to be 120 political power. By then, we will be able to pick up an advisor or change our economy. Now, most of the guides that I have seen for Poland, despite being a little outdated, suggest going straight for the war industrialist, and that's fine. 10% factory construction speed is good. On the other hand, we greatly increase our military factory construction speed by instead going directly for partial mobilization. It not only increases the speed at which we are building up our civilian factories, but it also reduces our consumer goods, which means we have more of those civilian factories, and it increases by a net of 40% for our military construction speed. So I actually think that this has to be a higher priority. Some people don't go for it because it's a bit of a waste. If we waited until we were at war with the Soviets, we could go directly to war economy, which is obviously even better. But I'd rather just go for this effect early on and start snowballing as much as is possible. To me, that just makes the most sense. Let's see, we are going to go for probably 3 civilian factories in total. I do need some civilian factories not only to have enough lines to actually produce my military factories, but also for trading goods. Because as we get more and more military factories, yeah, obviously I need equipment to actually still build, like, I don't know, artillery and whatnot, more tungsten. And without civilian factories, that's not going to last for very long. So I think a minimum of 3. Maybe 4, depending on how we're feeling. But there are some national focuses that will give us free civilian factories as well, so that's not so bad. Now, in a test game I started to do for this, I forgot to turn on historical AI focuses, and basically the Soviets got the purge, like, right away, which kind of screwed me over, because there was no way that I could actually mobilize for war by the time that the Great Purge would be gone, so that would not have worked out well. So I'm hoping, historically, this is going to work out well for us. The timing of the Great Purge is going to be very important. We are also going to be watching Japan and what's going to happen with the Marco Polo Bridge incident, because that will give us some world tension, and once we have world tension, so I can actually start fabricating on my neighbors, I will, because I'm going to conquer the Baltic states as early as I can and get their factories. Or alternatively, I could try to take out Romania and take their even better factories as well as their oil, which is also nice, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to take out the Kingdom of Romania. They've got a much, much stronger army, so it might be a bit of a slog taking them out. A long time ago, oh, there we go, Spain. Long time ago, one of the favorite strategies for Poland was to actually attack Czechoslovakia as quickly as you can, because the AI of Germany was a little bit broken. They would not be able to demand the Sudetenland, or at least wouldn't know how to. There's like a bug in the AI if you owned it, so they kept bouncing around national focuses, having no idea what to do, and you were pretty much safe from them forever. In this case, at least in version 1.7.1, that does not work. If Poland takes over Czechoslovakia, the Germans will demand the Sudetenland, and you will end up going to war. Between the Sudetenland, Slovakia, and Danzig, that's like 3 opportunities they have to go to war with you, which is just not ideal. Strengthening the Polish state is done. Excellent. Now we could go for the defensive focus, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's go for the 4-year plan for the extra construction technology boost, and let's swap over to partial mobilization. Now, if we look at these civilian factories right now, they'll be done as of June. If we go for partial mobilization, though, we should be able to greatly reduce that in just a moment. Let's take a look at it now. And, whoop, hello. April. Yeah, we just shaved off almost 2 months. Not bad. Not to mention we now have extra factories, which is speeding it up as well. So this is just, I just think going for partial mobilization is smart. Yeah, you wasted 150 political power. Oh no, whatever shall we do? I think it's fine. Partial mobilization, get those civilian factories. The next thing we are going to go for is actually a chief of navy. This guy here, I can't pronounce his name, is an old guard. This is not exactly good for the Navy. It actually reduces your naval experience gain, but what it does do is give you another 10% political power gain. Since our base is 2, that's going to translate into an extra 0.2 political power per day, which is effectively like a 20% increase. Yeah, the base value is 2. I'm spending 1 on our national focuses all the time. Instead of 1 per day, we'll gain 1.2. That's a 20% increase in political power, which means I can customize my government a lot more. So that's usually my second focus immediately after we are done with the partial mobilization. Let's focus on some extra research speed with mechanical computing. We have 76 days until construction 1 is done. By then, we'll have the extra construction technology, so we'll be fully a year ahead of time in our construction tech, which I think is going to be great because that speeds things up even further. And actually, yeah, we're making some really good progress here on these factories. Now, I think this next factory is actually going to go to consumer goods. It'd be nice if we had it going directly into construction, but I'm pretty sure it's just going to go right to consumer. That's all right, though. I mean, you can't win everything. I think it's going to be enough. The point is, we are greatly increasing our industrial capabilities in preparation for war against the Soviets. Now, as far as our starting templates, let's go ahead and start training up at least a few divisions. It's going to use up some manpower. We don't have anywhere near enough equipment to support this, but we'll go ahead and start training what we can. We're starting with 18 combat with infantry divisions with recon. So there's no engineers, it's not 20 combat with, it's kinda terrible. We will change this as soon as I'm able to get some military experience. We could do some training, but that uses up valuable equipment that I don't have. We will want to get a military theorist advisor early on, because that gets me some of the extra army experience. For now, we're going to go ahead and say that this will be our 20 with infantry division, at least eventually. And then when we are ready for an offensive division, we will switch over to infantry plus artillery, which we've done in the past. And it's worked out pretty well for us. That's one of the reasons I am producing as much artillery as I am. But for now, I think that the infantry equipment has to be king, has to take priority. We'll focus on getting at least 3 more factories on infantry equipment, then maybe 1 more on towed artillery. I don't think we have to worry about support equipment, at least for a while. So I'm not gonna do anything with that. Now, as far as our production, what do we want? Concentrated is good for just raw factory output, but I kind of like dispersed because it's still 10% instead of 15%, so it's still pretty good. But you also have the efficiency retention, and at least in the early game, as you are swapping around, you know, various factories to, let's say, upgraded infantry equipment or better tanks, retaining some efficiency actually makes a big difference. More and more, I think I'm coming to like dispersed, and I might just start getting this in the future instead. Not to mention, you're also less vulnerable to bombs, which is good if you're not going to have an air force to defend yourself against said bombers. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and assign a field marshal. At least in the early game, somebody defensive makes a lot of sense, so we'll pick you up. We'll probably want you and... probably you. These guys should be fine. Let's go ahead and give you a trait. We have Organization first or Charismatic. I think I'll take the Organization for the extra reinforce rate, because that is good whether you are playing it defensively or offensively. That's just always pretty helpful. Not going to worry about any of these decisions. Right now, we don't have anything. If we did control Lithuania, we could reform the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and get a whole bunch of states as cores, which is nice. I would like to do that. The 4-year plan is done, okay? So now the question is, do we want to go for the defensive focus? Kind of depends. Let's take a look at Japan. They don't have a national focus set yet. We can wait a day. Okay, guide the... Okay, so they're not going for the Marco Polo Bridge incident. Once I see them doing that, that's when I want to go for Polish militarism. I don't know if I'm going to be building any military factories this exact second. Let's hold off on that. We're going to add on 1 more civilian factory. And then we are going to go for the military factories. This is a little bit more aggressive. Last time I tried this, I went for military factories a little bit earlier, but I think for now, I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the civilian just so I can trade for those goods, because that will become a bottleneck. I'm trying to preempt the bottlenecks, you know, before it becomes an issue, if at all possible. So we're going to conquer the Baltics. There is actually a national focus to ally with all of them, and I think they will join a faction for you. But it's also better just to own them. They've got, like, no troops. Sorry, hang on, let's take a look at that. There we go. They got, like, 3 troops. They got nothing. They got a handful of factories. It's just a really easy way to increase my economic base. So I'm going to take them over instead. We'll just do that, and it'll be fine. Construction Tech 1, done. Let's go directly to Construction Tech Level 2. It is a year ahead of time, but it's still only going to take 140 days. It's actually 0.56 years ahead of time. But the point is, it's going to be fast. We have that ahead of time bonus cost reduction, which means we can really ramp up our construction speed even further. So let's go ahead and get that National Defense Fund. Then we're going to swap over to getting the military factory construction speed bonus. We are about to get the advisor for the extra political power. So there we go. Now we are making 1.23 per day. Not bad. That should speed things up quite a bit, and then we can focus on getting our theorist and our political advisor. I feel pretty good about this start so far. Soviets, Stalin Constitution. They're not going for the Great Purge early. That's great. Keep an eye on Japan. We do need to watch for when they go for the Marco Polo Bridge incident. That almost always leads to 10% extra world tension. That's what we'll use as our excuse to go and conquer the Baltics and bring them under our protective banner. It probably will upset the Allies, but let's be honest, the Allies aren't going to do a whole lot to defend me in the first place. The Allies are not exactly useful against both the Germans and the Soviets. Poland is going to get crushed. Maybe they win eventually, but by then I'll be long dead. So now, I don't want to rely on the Allies. The Allies are unhelpful. We're going to go our own path. Poland strong. Poland independent. Poland not rely on other clays, I say. All right, National Defense Fund is done. Now we can go for the defensive focus. The other reason I wanted to focus down the 4-year plan tree over here, you can pretty quickly get to an extra research slot, and those extra research slots certainly add up for extra, extra technology. Give you a bit of an advantage. Even if you can't figure out what to use it on, I mean, heck, just getting extra excavation tech for more resources can go a long way too, so that's just always going to be a win for me. So let's see, we are up to 16 civilian factories, so that's not bad. We should be able to finish this in about a month. We're now to the point where we're taking just over 4 months for every factory. That's pretty quick, guys. That's pretty darn quick. Very happy with that. Games of the Olympiad, 9th Olympiad, 11th Olympiad, sorry. Roman numerals. What do they mean? I don't know. Defensive focus for the extra 20% construction speed, of course, is going to be quite nice. Also, another 20% fort construction speed, which is even, well, not better, but it's also really good. Because we will want to fortify our borders against the Soviets before we do go to war with them. At least level 2, maybe level 3 forts across the board. You don't necessarily want to go beyond that, though, and I know that sounds counterintuitive, because a lot of people would think you want to have, like, up to level 10 forts and whatnot. Why not, right? Well, the reason why you don't necessarily want to do that is because the AI looks at the super strong forts and is like, that's suicide, I'm not attacking that, and they just sit there staring at you. It is actually to my advantage to have them attack me in a losing situation for them, where at least I have a few defensive bonuses, and let them exhaust themselves, waste their experience, waste their equipment, waste their organization, and then counterattack. So anything more than level 3 forts might be a little bit too much of a discouragement to the Soviets to actually attack me on my terms. So we're not going to go above that, but at least level 2 forts across the board is going to go a long way to helping me survive against the Soviets. All right, we're about to finish this fort at just the right time. Not fort, sorry, factory. Just in time for defensive focus to finish. There's mechanical computing as well. There's dispersed industry as well. Beautiful. And if we see this end, hang on, how long is it taking right now? We'll be done the 17th of September. Okay, we're done with that now. That speeds up to the 2nd of August of next year. Now, granted, it only has 2 factories, so it's not a very good representative sample, but the point is, we just shaved 20% off of any more of these factories, which is really, really nice for me. All right, so we have our dispersed industry. We're looking pretty good over here. We have our extra research speed, which is great. We are going to go for some motorized so I can get other companies, and we're going to go for the extra equipment. There's nothing in particular I want to build. I don't really see a lot of point in going for like tank research and stuff right now. We won't really gain anything out of that. So I'm not going to worry about it. Instead, we're just going to go ahead and focus on some of these default bonuses. Getting motorized is what unlocks things like field hospitals and logistics companies, which of course would make my life easier if we can get enough support equipment and motorized to support it. I don't know if we will by the time we get to the Soviets, but field hospitals would be awesome. I think that one of the primary disadvantages Poland has going into these wars is we will get bottlenecked on manpower very quickly. So, we have a couple of ways to get around that. One, we could certainly go for things like scraping the barrel eventually. And by the way, let's go for that war industrialist for even more construction speed. We could go down that route and get scraping the barrel, but that reduces my factory output by a huge margin. Alternatively, there is an argument to switch over to the mass assault doctrine. Because if we go down this route here, there is a, I think, 5%? Yeah, 5% recruitable population increase, which is pretty massive and lets you actually get a lot more people on the field. This could be really good. It's really either between mass assault or superior firepower. Superior firepower preserves your manpower by letting you do more per guy on the field, right? It's good value. But mass assault might actually solve our manpower problem. So I'm actually thinking we will go down the mass assault doctrine and sort of forego the grand battle plan. And I think we will. Let's go ahead and get rid of trench warfare and get started on mass assault doctrine as early as possible. That's going to increase our reinforcement rate. It'll eventually lead to extra supply and organizations. Let's see. Division attrition reduces. Nice. Recovery rate can be nice. Lots of organization. And I really like this infantry combat width reduction because instead of having, let's say I think it's 10 infantry for a 20 combat width army, you can have 11 infantry, which just means if it comes down to 120 width versus 120 width infantry divisions, yours are going to be better because you've actually got a little bit more people in the field. Yeah, that costs you more manpower, but it's more stats for your 20 combat width infantry divisions. I don't know. I'm not totally sold on mass assault. I think that there really is a solid argument to be made about superior firepower, but I think this would be fun. It's a fun challenge. I never really get to play with mass assault, so we're gonna try it. How are we doing with Soviets? Extra research. Okay. How are we doing with Japan? They're going for army expansions. Just watching for that Marco Polo Bridge incident. Any day now, that is going to fire, and I want to swap over to militarism as quick as possible. But while we're waiting, let's get that extra infrastructure and start working toward another research slot so I can have a little bit of an extra advantage going into it. So let's see. Are we working on those military factories? We are about to. So that's going to speed things up in a minute. There we go. All right, a little bit more civilian factories. Unfortunately, that went to consumer goods. We are now able to produce a military factory. Well, in this case, we'll have another one in less than a month. But look at all these stacking modifiers. 10% for our advisor, 10% from our partial mobilization, 20% for deterrence, 10% from export, 20% more from construction techs. That's pretty awesome. The Anti-Comintern Pact. Germany is proposing we sign a pact to upset the Soviets, basically. I guess I can accept. There's no reason not to accept in this case. The Soviets are already going to hate me regardless, so we might as well. As far as I'm aware, there are no downsides. Now let's pay attention. Japan, what are you working on? Liaison Conference, okay. The Soviets have begun work on the Great Purge. All right. All right. Well, it's going to be a little difficult to field a large enough army. Remember that the Great Purge lasts for 4 years for the Soviets, but it gradually tapers down its effects. It starts by giving them a minus 50% to their organization, which is huge, because it's so easy just to tear right through them with just equivalent troops. Their only advantage is their numbers. They have huge numbers compared to you, but that's really about it. So it's easy to tear through them. But as it tapers down, that effect kind of goes away, down to like, what, 30%? And then it's just gone. So ideally, you want to attack the Soviets early at the height of the Great Purge in order to get as much value out of that as possible and just rip right through them. Surround Moscow, and then they have no supplies in their entire country, and they just wither and die. That's ideally what you want to do. But as Poland, we don't have an absolute ton of troops, so this is one of the reasons going for the early production is so important. So I actually can field an army that actually can, do anything. All right, let's see. 1937, we should go for probably another level of dispersed industry. We should not be at our efficiency cap yet, though we are getting close, especially with things like support equipment. We're getting there, and we'll come back to that in a minute, but for now, let's go for dispersed industry, just increase my factory output by another 10%. And then as soon as the motorized is done, we'll switch over to more machined tooling. Still looking okay here in Tungsten. We are about to finish up some more military factories. Okay, so now we are producing a bit more infantry equipment. That's good. 40 guns per day. I want to get that up to at least 60 as quickly as we can. I've got a good stockpile of artillery right now, so that's nice. We can modify the government. Let's get a military theorist for the army experience. Also, it reduces the land doctrine research speed, so we can catch up on things like mass assault doctrine a little bit faster. Low manpower, yeah, I'm aware. Still not quite able to fully equip these guys. Invest in the old Polish region. All right, so that's done. Now, let's take a look. Japan, they are forming their faction, but they are not working on militarism. So we're going to go for the research slot next. Again, just trying to go for as much of a research advantage as possible. Pretty soon, we are going to be going for the militarism regardless. That does increase, I believe, my recruitable population by a good amount. Yeah, 2.5%. Also gives you some war support, also reduces the effect of partisans. That's not bad. Also some army experience, which lets me actually create reasonable templates. So I like that. Revanchism, more war support, generate war goal tension limit goes down, so we're not going to upset the allies quite as much. And justify war goal time. It's a lot faster to actually get the war goals we need to take out these guys here. We do need to be a little bit concerned about maybe the allies guaranteeing people if they think that I'm being too much of a warmonger. That would be the smart thing for them to do, but I don't want them to do it. I really don't want them to do that. That would suck. Let's see. We're going to go for the production efficiency cap plus 10%, just so we can keep producing a little bit faster. Yeah, we should be able to get that before these guys hit the cap, and these are the two that really matter, artillery and infantry equipment. We're going to get ourselves up to a third towed artillery, and then we'll focus a little bit more on infantry equipment. I think maybe 2 or 3 military factories on infantry equipment for every 1 on artillery is probably a pretty good way to go. We actually have some free civilian factories, which is amazing. Let's build some more here in Warsaw for the extra infrastructure. Obviously, we're not building anything in Danzig. I would like to think that it's sort of obvious as to why we're not doing that, because we're going to give up Danzig so that the Germans don't want to kill me. Okay? I think that's obvious. At least I would certainly hope so. All right, Soviet Union. The Great Purge takes a very long time for them to research. I didn't even realize how long it takes. It's pretty slow going. Huh. Is that like an 80-day thing? Well, either way. Fine by me, though. Fine by me. Let's see. 60% stability is okay. Part of that's due to our popularity. I don't think that there are any advisors that increase our non-aligned popularity. No, there are not. So that's not going to be very helpful to us. Non-core manpower actually could be very helpful. I wouldn't mind getting myself a Prince of Terror. Also, it's just a cool title. Yeah? You got Prince of Terror on your resume. You want to elaborate on that? Yeah, I scare people. I scare people a lot. Oh, that's cool. All right, let's see. More mass assault doctrine? Maybe. Do I need this right now? Is there anything else that's really pressing? No. We're going to go ahead and get started on this just because it does take so freaking long. Unassigned divisions. Cool. We actually have another troop that we can use. Yay. Research slot. Research slot. Give me all the goodies. Give me that excavation tech. Lots of oil. Blah, blah, blah. There's actually a really good argument to conquer Romania just so we have full control of the oil and they can't trade it to the Germans when we want. That would mean, in theory, that the Germans really get starved for oil and their tanks can't produce too much, at least when they get to war with the Allies, because there's not a lot of oil sources for the Germans. On the other hand, they'll probably just build a lot of oil refineries and synthetics and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's better for them to stick on Romania for a while, and they'll swap it later. Japan. Marco Polo Bridge incident. Perfect timing. We're going to go for Polish militarism. And then work toward that revanchism. All right, we have another slot. What should we work on next? Let's see. 1937, huh? Could start working on some of these support companies. Really would like to get field hospitals. To use these, though, we would need to produce motorized. Not a bad idea to go ahead and upgrade our interwar artillery as well, since we will be going to war soonish. I'm going to go ahead and move these guys over here. Let's go ahead and start getting some planning bonuses and whatnot. Assign everyone here. These guys have, like, no troops. They should be total pushovers. But I just want to have overwhelming force to keep my casualties, thank you, brain, down to a minimum. So yeah, we'll push in through that. The Guangxi clique joins the Chinese United Front. The Chinese United Front forms. All right, so they're going to have fun against the Japanese. Marco Polo Bridge incident. All right, so that's going to generate plenty of world tension. Wait, 50% world tension. Is that right? Hindenburg. Actually, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm remembering this correctly. So, revanchism. Yeah, I think the generate war goal tension limit minus 40%. That's why. Okay, yeah, that's why. It's not that it generates less war tension when you justify on people. It's that we do not need 50% world tension to conquer anybody, only 10. Which is why there was no point in going down that route earlier, because we're still only sitting at 5%. But I know for a fact the Japanese are about to create some more, and that's all we'll end up needing, so that's going to be fine. I don't know if I want to hold on to some political power in preparation for all this. I kind of got everything that I absolutely needed. I don't think we could have gone for war economy, by the way. None of our opponents have anywhere close to enough factories or fielded troops to justify war economy, so that wouldn't have been an option. So do I want to use the political power on, say, the Prince of Terror? Do I want to work on some sort of commands? Maybe an industrial thing? Research speeds? It's pretty good. I'm going to hold on to it for now, because I don't remember how much it's going to cost me to justify. Shangxi joins the Chinese United Front. Okay. This has been a good, solid first start so far. First episode's looking pretty good. I'm happy with this. I need to drink something because I'm dying here a little bit, but there we go. Military factories. More artillery, please. Okay, now we are at the point where I have to start doing some trades. We are going to trade for a bit of steel. And you know what? Let's go ahead and trade for a little bit of tungsten. That does get rid of a couple more of my factories, so now we're down to only 14, but we're building quickly. It's only taking me 5 weeks or less. Dispersed industry is done. Great, more factory output for me. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the reinforce rate plus 5%. Machining tools are done. Okay. Not going to worry about getting any planes or ships. Already working on that. Already working there. Let's go ahead and research things like... Let's go ahead and research things like logistics companies. Actually, wait. Does it tell me what it requires to build these? Manpower. That's it. It only costs manpower. Okay. Yeah, logistics companies are fine. We can add those to pretty much anybody. Field hospitals require manpower, and it doesn't actually tell you that it requires... It doesn't tell you that it requires motorized, but I thought for sure that it does. All right. Amelia Earhart circumnavigates the globe. Congratulations. She lives. 20 combat width. Let's go ahead and toss on that extra infantry. We are up to 20 combat there. Boom. Because I have enough army experience, we'll go ahead and make sure that those guys are getting trained up all the way. Some of my troops will probably go back down to being green. A lot of my troops actually are already still at a veteran status, which is nice. I would train them, but I need the equipment to keep fielding troops, because right now we don't have a lot. Let's go ahead and add on a few extra units, by the way. Just make sure we are always training something. Never stop training. Modify government. That sounds fun. 10%. Perfect. Japan declares war on China. That's what I wanted to see. Polish revanchism. Okay, so in a little while, we are going to be attacking these people. We'll probably start fabricating claims on all three of them simultaneously if possible. I really hope the world tension does not go down a little bit. in the next month. Hey, look, we have troops. Sweet. Let's go ahead and toss you over here. Okay. Now, ideally, before we fight the Soviets, I'd like to have at least 80 troops. But I'm not sure if that's going to be an option. You start with war economy and service by requirement. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. All right. Soviet strong. Not as strong as Poland, though. Poland stronger. There's actually an achievement, by the way, if you get all the rocket technology so that Poland can go into space, so to speak. There's an achievement for that. I may or may not go for that on camera. Kind of depends. I think we just focus a bit more on infantry equipment. I mean, artillery's good and all. But let's keep focusing on the infantry equipment, because at the very least, even if I don't field artillery, I'd like to be able to have more 20 combat width divisions. That's just manpower and guns. Manpower and guns is all we need. All right, toss you guys on here. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and add you to this army. There we go. Full 24 combat width. 24 division army. Ready to go. I will need to increase my manpower in a little bit. I'm just holding out for a moment while we get Polish revanchism. I know we are out of time for this video, so we are going to be ending things. But so far, this is going without a hitch. We are building factories very quickly with a lot of stacked modifiers. Might actually need to get myself another civilian factory here at some point, just kind of increase this. But we're looking good. We're looking solid so far. If we can just conquer a few more factories, that's going to go a long way to increasing my capabilities as well. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and you're looking forward to this achievement run. Well, challenge run. There's no particular achievement in mind, but it's still cool. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.